Big Ten Spring Football Overreactions by Tom Fornelli, CBS Sports. Great article. We're going to be going through that. Also here at PATC, our official sportsbook odds for the Pac-12, at least one school getting poached. The odds have risen some more as we head into the middle of the hot bubble of action in the middle of May. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Let's not waste any more time. We're going to be going into this Tom Fornelli overreaction, his overreactions on the spring football games we saw, the spring football camps within the Big Ten. Put down your comments and thoughts on his overreaction. I think it was a great article. We're going to be going through that, and then we're going to end it up with PATC's latest odds of the Pac-12 getting poached once again. Those odds continue to rise. Let's go to the Tom Fornelli article. CBS Sports. Big Ten spring football overreactions. Ohio State's major concern. Michigan's quarterback J.J. McCarthy takes the next step. Again, this is the overreactions. We don't go through the whole article, but we will provide a link in the description box. It's May. Nobody in college football has taken a snap in anger for nearly 4 months. That's a lot of time for everybody, fans and media alike, to kill waiting for something tangible to talk about. Thankfully, we have spring practice. And as you all know, PATC loves spring practice. Sure, spring practice is helpful for coaches and players to figure things out, but the primary reason for its existence is to draw wild conclusions from it with little evidence. Did the team's Twitter account post a video of a favorite of your transfer wide receiver making a sweet one-handed catch? Heisman! Did your local beat reporter see both quarterbacks fighting for the number one job miss throws during the 10 minutes of practice they were allowed to watch? Worst passing offense ever? Need to hit the portal and gather some NIL money to buy Caleb Williams from USC. Beautiful writing by Tom Fornelli. We're all at our dumbest in May. Let's take a look at the kind of overreactions that could be going on around the message boards of the Big Ten country right now. And I think Tom Fornelli hits on it. I think he hits about 99% on it as we take a look at what could be the overreactions going around Big Ten country. Illinois, Luke Altmaier is the program's best quarterback since Jeff George. He's looking great in the spring. Tommy DeVito had a great season last year for Illinois. It was one of the major reasons, besides that great defense, great secondary. It's one of the reasons why Illinois rose last year. But now, Luke Altmaier, Ole Miss transfer, looked good this spring, and the Illinois passing attack looks like it should be more dangerous in 2023. Is that an overreaction? Indiana Andre Carter will be the Hoosiers' first day one draft pick in 30 years. Indiana's defense wasn't nearly disruptive enough last season, and Coach Tom Allen addressed it by hitting the transfer portal to snag Carter from Western Michigan. The defensive lineman was a tear with the Broncos last year. 13 and a half tackles for losses, 11 quarterback hurries. He's looked just as good with the Hoosiers this spring. The Hoosiers. All the fans are all high on Andre Carter. Iowa. Overreaction. The Hawkeyes will never score a single point on offense. A lot was made of the contract stipulation for offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz and the 25 points per game the Hawkeyes need to score this year. There was also a lot made to the changes to the offensive newcomers like Cade McNamara, Eric All from Michigan, the tight end. None of it was on display this spring, or at least not publicly. McNamara was limited participant with only open practice of the spring, and many expected the starters on the offensive line were out. So it's the great unknown at Iowa. Iowa fans, overreaction. My goodness, our offense is again in trouble. Maryland, wide receiver Tyrese Chambers will be all Big Ten. Maryland has a lot of work to do along the offensive line after the players moved on to the NFL transfer portal. And none of it was solved by the end of spring. So let's ignore that and focus on the transfer receivers, while West Virginia's Cam Prather is the most prominent name, Chambers showed out most of during the spring game. Chambers is a Maryland native who caught 96 passes for 1,618 yards and 13 touchdowns. He is the great hope. He did that with FIU. He is the great hope for the Terps fans as they go out of spring football. Tyrese Chambers, is that an overreaction? Michigan, J.J. McCarthy is taking it to another level. Michigan's possible overreaction in the message boards. McCarthy led the Wolverines to a Big Ten title college football playoff, but he had some clunkers in November. He had a string of them right in a row. McCarthy threw 7 touchdowns with no interceptions, but completed only 50% of his passes in that stretch. He also threw 2 critical interceptions in the semifinal loss, but Michigan fans believe their overreaction possibly is that J.J. McCarthy is taking it to the next level. And if he does, Michigan is a national title contender, no question about it. Michigan State, all the most important offensive players are gone. It's over. It's over in Sparty land. That's the overreaction. Shortly after spring practice ends, the window for players to enter the transfer portal does the same. That's why we see a flurry of action afterwards. Most of the time, players with concrete evidence that they're buried on the depth chart take off. Unfortunately, for Mel Tucker in Michigan State, Peyton Thorne left, Keon Coleman left. The great wide receiver, the starting quarterback, Michigan State, not feeling good. The fans not feeling good at this point in time, but is it an overreaction? Minnesota, wait. You can throw the ball? Coach PJ Fleck has been successful at Minnesota and has experienced most of that success running the football. Minnesota has run the ball 63.4% of its plays over the last 4 seasons. Only the 3 service academies run the ball more often. But what's going on? Minnesota's going to throw the ball this year. Athan Kakamanis, the Greek rifle. He's got some receivers on this team. Elijah Spencer, the transfer from Charlotte. You got Daniel Jackson coming back next year. Crooms, the slot receiver transfer from Western Michigan. And of course, you got Brevin Spanford, who's probably going to be first or second team All Big Ten. The Minnesota Golden Gophers, my beloved Golden Gophers, are actually going to throw the forward pass here in 2023. Nebraska, quarterback Jeff Sims, who is Adrian Martinez was supposed to be. That's the reaction coming out of Nebraska. Ooh, they love their Jeff Sims. I don't know about that. Casey Thompson just entered his name in the transfer portal. Sims was one of among the top players in the 2020 class and surprised many by committing to Georgia Tech. So Nebraska fans are getting hyped. They're getting hyped. They want some Jeff Sims. Here at Peek Around the Corner, we're not that high in Jeff Sims. We'll see what happens. I believe this is an overreaction by Cornhusker fans needing to have Jeff Sims be the guy. Adrian Martinez just couldn't get to that level. Northwestern, everybody's going to run over the Wildcats. And this is a tough reaction, not an overreaction. It's just how it's going to be. Northwestern's not going to be able to stop the run this year. Their defensive line is as thin as it possibly could be. Whoever plays the Wildcats is going to run that ball. Ohio State, the offensive line is an actual problem spot. We saw that in the spring game. Now, most spring games, the defense is going to be the head of the offense. But in this spring football game that we carried live here at Peek Around the Corner, we had a live watch party. It was obvious. The offensive line needed some work. They did go in the transfer portal here. Ryan Day recently picked up a couple guys on the offensive line. So we'll see what happens. But that offensive line, it's an actual problem for the Buckeyes. Something to think about. Don't think this is an overreaction. Penn State, nobody has a better running back duo in the country. Now, Michigan would like to say hello, Donovan Edwards. and of course Corbin. But Penn State with Allen and Singleton, we've talked about it here at Peek Around the Corner. It's why we have Penn State winning it all in the Big Ten this year. Drew Aller is the key component to all this. He has to be the straw that stirs the drink. I think Penn State's got it. I think they're going to do it. Is this an overreaction by PATC? Yes, it probably has been for months, but we're going to continue to be on the Nittany Lions for 2023. Hudson Card is a taller, more athletic Drew Brees. Purdue fans falling in love with Hudson Card. There are a lot of changes with their defending Big Ten West champions. Coach Jeff Brom left for Louisville, and quarterback Aiden O'Connell is in the NFL. In their place is the new coach Ryan Walters, the great defensive coordinator of Illinois. Walters brought in the air raid, Graham Harrell, who just came from West Virginia. Hudson Card, there's a lot of steam coming out of West Lafayette that Hudson Card is the real deal. And it's going to be a step above even what Aiden O'Connell did last year for the Purdue Boilermakers. Rutgers. The Scarlet Knights will have to run the ball more than Minnesota. If, as I mentioned earlier, Minnesota runs the ball less often this season, maybe Rutgers will pick up some of those carries. Gavin Wimsatt and Evan Simon are those quarterbacks. They looked impressive in the spring game. New offensive coordinator Kirk Shiraka, who came from Minnesota, hasn't been able to dig deep into his playbook yet. Well, let me say a few things on that. Kirk Shiraka, very good offensive coordinator, very good developer of quarterbacks, but he doesn't have a deep playbook. This Kirk Shiraka's playbook is about 1.5 pages long. It's all about the running game, inside zone running game, setting up the linebackers to come creeping up at the line, and then bam, you throw those slant passes across the middle. The offensive design is going to be very simple for Gavin Wimsatt and Simon. So they're not going to have problems. They're going to be doing some audibilizing at the line of scrimmage, but the offense is quite simple to run. It's all about the execution. I think Kirk Shiraka was a great pickup for Rutgers. I think he's going to get the basics into that program. And I see a little bit of improvement for Rutgers this year. And finally, Wisconsin, the Dairy Raid is unstoppable. All hail the Dairy Raid. Wisconsin also going to be throwing the ball all over the place. That's what they feel in Madison. Offensive coordinator Phil Longo coming in. Of course, you got Luke Fickell. I tell you what, though, they're going to have to throw the ball a whole lot better than they did in that spring football game because that was horrific. A lot of interceptions in that game. Mordecai did not look good. We'll see what happens in Wisconsin. But those are the overreactions for all those schools. Tom Fornelli, great, fantastic article. Read the whole thing in the link provided. Now, PATC's Sportsbook. We've said since February 24th, we said the odds of the Pac-12 being poached once again was the chalk. From February 24th going forward. We haven't changed that. And we believe that the odds, it needs to rise. So, Pac-12, the chances of a Pac-12 being poached, at least one school leaving the Pac-12 here, it's about an 8.5 point favorite. That's pretty steep. I know a lot of you are thinking, Greg, you're crazy. You're crazy to put the Sportsbook's odds at an 8.5 point favorite of another poaching of the Pac-12. That's how we see it. So give us your thoughts, your comments in the comments section. Let me know how crazy you think I am. We are in the hot bubble of action. We reported this on April 18th, that the hot bubble action was going to be April 28th to May 17th. We're entering into the middle of the hot bubble of action. We are not moving the goalposts. So again, tell me how crazy I am for sticking with what we've reported back weeks ago. So buckle up. Keep your head on a swivel and stick with us here at peek around the corner as we follow this dramatic story, as we believe it comes, well, not to a close, but the story is going to be altered here shortly. So stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.